Hello! Welcome back to Renee's spare bedroom. I've got another video for you. Hopefully it'll be one of the last because I think we've got enough pieces in place to safely treat at the clinic. Safe for us, safe for you. So hopefully I'll see you very soon. But in the meantime, I've been getting contacted by more people, patients, friends, family members, who've been having more neck pain. People's lives have changed in the last 2 months. Here's Kiki, she loves this mat. She loves Pilates and yoga, you can tell. Hopefully this happens at your house. If a mat goes down on the floor, this is what happens. So, people, patients, family members, friends are contacting me and saying, I have neck pain. And people's schedules have changed a lot. So, people are working at home. Maybe their home workstation is not ergonomic. Before, you used to at least get a break to get up and go to a meeting, or something else was going on, so you didn't constantly sit at a computer. I'm hearing from people now that work days are 10 hours long and they're just sitting the whole time. So neck pain is becoming a problem. Why do we care about this in a pelvic focused clinic? There is a huge correlation between neck pain and pelvic pain. So I'm going to give you an example here. So I'm not sitting with the best posture. And if you look at me from the side, if I'm sitting here with this posture, look at what's going on at my head, neck, and shoulders. It's like my neck muscles are just hanging on for dear life to hold my head in this position. So posture is one thing. If I'm in a more correct posture, things are stacked over the hips, over the shoulders. The muscles don't have to work so hard. The other thing is, oh, look, I got another cat here. That's Hansi. The other thing is, I've seen studies, and I hope I can find this, and I'll share it if I can. It was somebody who they were testing their hip extension. So they were laying on their stomach and just trying to lift a leg against gravity. The glutes are one of the primary muscle groups that do that for people, so the gluteals. And they found for people who are having pelvic pain or low back pain and the glutes didn't fire right to lift the leg, the muscle group that did fire and overfired were the neck muscles. So there's some connection between the hip extensors and then the neck extensors that when the glutes aren't firing right, the neck muscles are like, oh, we're gonna help. And so that's a lot of our people, is people with low back pain, pelvic alignment issues that just doesn't let the glutes fire right. And when the glutes aren't firing right, other muscles try to kick in to help. So it's important for us. So the reason why I'm sharing this technique, so you can Google exercises for neck pain, and you're gonna find some good stuff. The I, T, Y, W exercises, stretches, they're out there. I want to share a technique that I've never seen before. I learned it in a Stop Pilates class, and it's amazing for me. So we have these big groups of muscles like our upper traps, the sternocleidomastoid muscles, the scalenes, which are underneath here. These muscles in Pilates are referred to as global mobilizer muscles. So their job is big global movements, okay? They're your big muscles. Then we've got local mobilizer muscles. These are more like your detail workers. And then we've got local stabilizer muscles. Local stabilizer muscles are more like our little teeny tiny muscles that are between each vertebrae, the multifidi. They're the muscles that should be working to just stabilize us. And when the big muscles are always kicking in, sometimes these little muscles, they just are like, you know what? They're doing my job. They're trying to do my job. I'm on vacation, I guess. I don't know. So what we're trying to do with this routine is turn off the big muscles, the global mobilizers, and turn on the little muscles, the local stabilizers. And what you will need for this is a stability ball. So this is, if I inflated this all the way, this is something I might put under my back to do some like leg work or some core work. This has a little plastic deal that pops out. When you get it, it's already out and you have a straw. You can blow it up to however full you want it to be, and then you can put this in. So it's very nice. You can take it out, put it back in, let air in, take air out. So this is a stability ball, mini stability ball. This one is 7.5 inches. These are about $10 on Amazon. You'd probably have to get it from Amazon. I don't know where else you would get one right now, with the stores being closed. So, small mini stability ball, filled up part way, okay? The idea is we're gonna do what is called a suboccipital float. So basically, we're gonna put this on the floor, we're gonna put our head on the ball, and I want it to feel like your head is just floating on water. We're trying to unweight your head from the shoulders, basically. We're trying to unweight the head so that these big global mobilizer muscles don't have anything to mobilize. They don't have anything to do. If that's the case, we give them a little time. Maybe they'll turn off a little bit. When that happens, we'll add in a little range of motion, and then your little muscles will kick in and help stabilize and do just these fine movements for us, okay? So I want to show you the routine that I do. You will also need your 36x6 low density foam roller. This again, you probably want to get on Amazon. They're about $20. It's a great tool to have around. And again, I shared this with my core activation. It's an unsteady surface. In this case, we're actually going to use it to like open up the chest and shoulders, okay? If you feel like you have tightness in the chest and shoulders, you may want something around like your yoga bolster. Again, this is a fleece blanket wrapped in a big bath towel and secured with some masking tape. So you might need something like this around to put on either side of the body to support your arms. So pillows work, blankets work. Some people have yoga blankets, yoga bolsters work, or just grab a couple pillows off the couch. So you don't need fancy equipment for this, okay? So we're gonna start with the foam roller. Laying it vertically. There's no pretty way to get up and down from here. So you're gonna start out on the foam roller. You want it right down the middle of your back. Legs are wide. This is not a balance activity here. So you want to be fully supported. And I like to start by just rocking side to side. You can do this as long as it feels comfortable. You might feel a little snap, crackle, pop. That's just air escaping from a little joint where your vertebrae meet or where your vertebrae meet ribs. It's fine. It doesn't have to be painful. You might not feel much happening, but let it happen anyway. Just humor me here. After I rock side to side a few times, I'm trying to get this upper back to move a little bit better. So next I add in some arm motion. So I just start with every range of motion that I know the arms do, okay? You do not have to take this from floor to floor. Take it where your arms let you go, because I'm a little hypermobile, so you might not move as much as I do. So I start with just flexion and extension. Maybe 5-10 times. I use my arms together. This looks like my foam roller core exercise, but my legs are wide. I'm not really focused on keeping my core engaged right now. I like to do together and separate because our body works differently on each side. All right, then we'll do just like a snow angel. Sweep the floor. If you can't get your arms to the floor, you could just be doing, you could hover and just go up and down from here. So it doesn't have to be on the floor. Maybe one at a time, just because like I mentioned, arms working together and arms working separately, things move a little different. And then I take the arms up and I move through a chest press position. If you can tap your elbows to the floor. If you can't, you just stop parallel to the floor. I'm trying to open up the chest. I'm trying to like work out some of the tightness between the shoulder blades, give a little mobilization to the spine if it needs it. For people who have a rounded forward posture, this might be a lot. So you don't have to dive in with this. You can just practice laying on the foam roll. Also, for some people, if you have a really rounded posture, you might have trouble getting your head down. Feel free to put a little padding here, a pillow or something else, just to keep your head comfortable. And again, if you can't reach the floor, you're just hovering above. I like to add in rotation because a lot of people are stuck in this this internal rotation and rounded forward. So if you can, rotate open and closed. Because I can, set my arms on the floor, but you do not have to. But this is a nice chest opener. Maybe one at a time. If you can't touch the floor, just hovering above. One more here, I call it a W. Bring your elbows to your sides and then go high and wide. So like a Y to a W. Y to a W. If you can touch the floor, you can keep this on the floor the whole time. Out of the side of my eye, I can see some cat activity, so hopefully they're not in the video. Just know they're here with you. Maybe one at a time. And basically any range of motion that you feel like you need. So we did flexion and extension. I did sweeping like a snow angel, abduction and adduction. I did chest press. You could also just do a letter T, open and close. Nothing has to go to the floor. I added in rotation. I like that because a lot of people need this. A lot of people can't extend and externally rotate. And then I added in the Y and the W, okay? So you do that as much as you feel like you need or are comfortable. If this is new to you and you're not sure how your upper back is gonna feel, a couple of minutes just laying on this roll. This is a good time if you feel like you can lay but you can't get your arms to the floor. Grab the pillow, bring the floor to you. So that way you can just rest and relax and your arm can be supported. You might find that one arm can get to the floor or closer to the floor than the other, so you might need a big pillow on one side and a blanket on the other. It doesn't have to be symmetrical. We use our body different ways depending on which hand we write with and our activities. So do what you feel like you need to do. Okay, so that being said, let's move on to the ball. So now we're going to grab the mini stability ball and we're going to put our head on the ball. So basically, I don't want you to feel like your head's being pushed forward. I don't want it to be so far back that you feel uncomfortable. Basically, I just want you to be able to feel like you're floating on water. Your head is unweighted from your shoulders. We're just going to pause here for a few minutes. If you were at home, you could stay in this suboccipital float or unweighted head position for 5 or 10 minutes. This could be your exercise. I like to give these big muscles time to be convinced they have nothing to do. The head is unweighted, and they're like, wait a minute, we need something to mobilize, but there's no weight there for us to move, so we're just gonna take a break. We'll turn off some activity. So if you can, find a way to let your body be as comfortable as possible. If laying flat feels more comfortable, you can lay flat. If your knees bent are more comfortable, bend your knees. Arms out to the side, supported arms if you need it, whatever you need to do to feel like your head is unweighted from your shoulders and your head is just floating on water. So the reason this is called a suboccipital float, for those people who don't know, the back of your head is called the occiput. Okay? The suboccipital area is the area below the occiput. And float, we're trying to float this occipital area on this ball. They do sell this as medical equipment. It's more like $40. This ball is more like $10. So if you want the medical equipment, I can share the link with you as well. But the idea is the same. Okay, so now this might be hard to see in a video, but there is a little range of motion that I like to add, and that's just to get the little tiny muscles to remember that they do have some work to do, and when the big muscles are turned off, they're allowed to do it. So these are tiny movements. I call them micro movements. It should be so small, you might not even be able to see it, okay? So if I'm gonna add in a little bit of flexion and extension. That's like a head nod, yes and no, okay? Yes or no. And then, so with this flexion and extension, this yes nod, it should be so small, it's like taking your eyes from a red light to a green light. Red light to green light. Imagine you have an axis right behind the ears, and all you're doing is taking your eyes from a red light to a green light. If I start moving my head in really big movements, now I've got these big neck muscles kicking in again. I don't want those guys to kick in. I just want the little guys. So these are tiny, tiny, tiny movements. When you start to do it, make it about half as big as you started with the first time. Tiny, tiny. Maybe you can see my head nod just a little bit. Maybe I do that 10 times. The other motion we'll do is like shaking the head no, so it's a little rotation. Same rules apply, but this time we have an axis that's going right down the middle of the neck. Up and down, it's vertical. And this one, we're just looking from one wall to the other. One wall to the other. It's a tiny, tiny movement. Whatever you start with, cut it in half and keep it small. If we start doing big neck movements, well, first of all, your head gets weighted again. But otherwise, your big neck muscles, like these SCMs, they're going to kick back on. So do your best to keep this tiny, tiny, tiny. And again, if it feels good to have your head unweighted from your shoulders, you could lay like this for 5 to 10 minutes. This is not a cure-all, so if you lay down on this ball once, that doesn't mean once you get up and go back to your computer that everything's going to be fixed. it's something that needs like retraining. So you're retraining the big muscles to shut down, the little muscles to kick in. Obviously, you're gonna have to look at your posture. We worked on a little bit of mobility for the back, the shoulders, the chest, and you're gonna have to fix your posture at your computer or your desk or your car. So make sure that you're looking at your posture. So I'm gonna come back up to sitting again. Okay, so remember, we're trying to turn off these big muscles and let the little muscles do the work. Remember, the more aligned you are, so ears over shoulders, shoulders over hips, stacks up the body so that these postural muscles or these local stabilizers can do the job. But if we get into this rounded forward posture, that's when these big muscles tighten back up and will stay tightened up. So try to fix your posture, work on opening the chest, working on getting the back to extend, and then you can also use a suboccipital float. Mini stability ball. I'll share a link for this. If you have any questions, let me know. I know it's hard to see because the movements are so tiny, smaller than this even. Can't do it in sitting, you have to do it laying down. So feel free to let me know if you have questions on this, but this is my favorite for getting these big neck muscles to quiet down and the little muscles to kick in. Otherwise, I hope I will see you soon. Take care.